Good morning, good afternoon, happy Monday. It's time for another edition of Let's Build HubSpot Adoption with Mr. Tony Dowling. How you doing, man?
I'm very well. Good afternoon. Thank you for remembering we're in different time zones. Good morning to you and to everybody over that side of the world. Big week this week, Chris. Lots of exciting. Christmas starts this week. Black
Yeah,
Friday, Cyber Monday,
no joke,
insanity.
dude. I came home yesterday to a new Christmas tree, all decorated. I was like, man, Thanksgiving's on Thursday.
Yeah,
Haven't even made it yet. But
yeah.
yes, it's a week of giving thanks for sure. And I'll just say thank you for leading us down this path of getting into the nitty gritty of what's really getting in the way of people getting the value out of HubSpot. We were just talking
Mm,
about this gap um, and how at the end of the day it comes down to when you have somebody who really cares and really wants to uh, get HubSpot going and have their team using HubSpot. It just takes one manager that is holding people accountable, that is hopefully serving people the way they want to work. But as I'm talking through this, I'm reminded of the best use cases, the most adopting use cases I've seen are when you start to tie it to commissions. So that's
100%.
that starts to tell you something, right?
Yeah,
If it's not a deal closed won in the system, you will not get commissions.
yeah, yeah.
Not everybody has to start there, but that just puts the perspective
No,
of you can put structure in place, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
yeah, no, 100%. So I think I'd like. I'm not the only person who says this, I'm sure, but I like the mantra. If it's not in HubSpot, it didn't happen.
Yes.
So don't bring me a query or a question or a complaint about something if the data is not there to back it up. But we are talking about those are very kind of those are belt and braces sort of aspects to the CRM, the rules of the CRM. I think what I'm interested in exploring today particularly is this concept, this idea of accountability and in the management layer. So I see a lot of businesses bringing in HubSpot as a thing, as a strategy, and it led me to sort of create this hashtag HubSpot is not a strategy. If you go on LinkedIn and search for HubSpot is not a strategy, you'll see a lot of my posts there where I complain that HubSpot doesn't fix anything on its own. HubSpot doesn't create growth on its own. HubSpot doesn't streamline your processes on their own. And in fact, I think it's almost like a surrogate for some of those things, for some management teams, for some leadership teams. So we need to get more efficient. I know. Let's get a CRM. Okay, so clearly it's a good step along the way of becoming more efficient, but it doesn't in itself make us more efficient. Let's grow our revenue. Let's improve our marketing. Whatever these use cases for bringing in a CRM, bringing in HubSpot are, it in itself doesn't achieve them. And I see in my mind a lot of the enablement work, a lot of the training work, a lot of the support, onboarding, whatever you're going to call it, actually creates more noise than value, right? So if I'm in an organization and the chief exec or an MD is saying to us, we want to bring in the CRM. By the time you've fitted all the process mappings in place, you've done your optimization work, maybe you've plotted goals and so on and so on. The chief execs, the senior managers tend to drift away. They tend to drift out of the actual work. They leave it to their teams. They delegate it. And maybe you've got a HubSpot champion, and certainly you've got end users in HubSpot, all of which is fine, is great. But this is the bit I think people fail to see. It doesn't matter what you do. If the management team leadership doesn't buy into using HubSpot to manage the business, HubSpot doesn't get adopted. That's the end of the chat, right? In fact, as far as we're concerned, it's the main thing you need to do in order to get HubSpot adopted. Now, we talk about something we call a management control system. Chris, an MCS, it's a very well-established mechanism, and in effect, it's literally what it says, right? It's how management control the system. So imagine it's dashboards, it's goals, it's reports, it's whatever it is. And what I wanted to do today is, rather than talk about it, which we often do, I just wanted to show some of these things in HubSpot, to look at it from the manager's perspective and give some advice on how they can run their team. And we'll start particularly with sales teams. Maybe we'll look at marketing again if we run out of time. But how do you do what I'm talking about? How do you actually manage your team in HubSpot? Because if you don't manage your team in HubSpot, then you won't get it adopted. It doesn't matter. We use Supered for enablement and inline training. Fantastic tool. If management aren't interested, nobody's going to use it. You can take, as we said earlier, you can take the horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. It's management who have to pull people through the transformation. They have to pull people along to the new way of working, to the start driving the goals, the new processes, and everything else. If management disregard, management delegate, management push this down the chain as an admin piece, it's just a gigantic waste of time and a massive missed opportunity as well.
Yes. Yeah. And as you share, like, what does it look like to bring in HubSpot and then have management disregard things like, so starting to get better at thinking about the questions to ask to start to tie these dots together. And at the end of the day, the management team is using some mechanism of some sort to understand the business, understand what the teams are doing. And even the most enthusiastic manager about how valuable HubSpot is, or what the team is supposed to be doing, if the end outcome is a set of slides or a spreadsheet or anything that is not a HubSpot URL or dashboard, like, it's brilliant. The teams that have gotten good at this, like this transition, and I'm not saying just get rid of everything off the bat, understand that the end goal is managing in HubSpot, because like it's fun to watch slides from teams where, okay, here's the chart I made with Excel. Here's a little snippet of the same exact chart and a link to it in HubSpot, but we got to play this like PowerPoint bridge game, because at some point up the chain, we've got a manager or owner saying, oh no, I want it in PowerPoint format because that's how I need it. Right? So either they're using these tools like PowerPoint or Excel or email, right? Or they've got a team under them using these tools and just say, send me all your slides, right? So I can put the report together, and then I will communicate my magic as the leader of the company to let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example, right? And I see this over and over, and sometimes, I mean, it's so disappointing. You spend all of this time working with firms to get HubSpot onboarded, get them using it, get it all connected up, and then some halfwit in corporate or in senior management says, I can't. I've lost my password. Can you just send me a spreadsheet, right? So anybody, this is the true sign of a lack of adoption in an organization. Anytime a manager wants something sent to them, as you say, Chris, outside of HubSpot, it's not happening. There's no reason to be outside of HubSpot at all. If it's working properly, you are managing, and that's what we'll jump into really quickly. You're managing every single aspect of your business in HubSpot. There's no reason for a report or a PowerPoint or a spreadsheet. In fact, it demonstrates that what you've done is you've thought HubSpot is an administrative tool. HubSpot is just like an email or just like a spreadsheet or something. You just miss the entire point of the customer platform. You miss the entire point, of being able, as a chief exec, managing director, to be able to look at every part of your customer journey in the one place. It's insane when you think about it. It's insane. So let's I'll pull up where I would start, right? So as a excuse me, as a as a
And
sales manager, this is where I would normally start. Go on, Chris. Sorry.
yeah, and I'd love for you to maybe keep this top of mind because as we were describing the scenario, my first corporate job, my boss, who was the president of the division, um, had to create 160 slides each month to
Yeah.
do monthly report to the overseas headquarters. And when I talked to him, at this point, it was my third HubSpot implementation. But of course, it's alongside Salesforce and ERP. So I'm like kind of like figuring out where HubSpot's going to be valuable. But as I talked to him about how much time is being spent on that activity, he mentioned he didn't mind it so much because the activity of putting the slides together helped him understand, like allowed him to think through, and it forced him
Yeah.
kind of to review in a more manual way, and he appreciated that. Now, we would argue you can still do stuff like that, it's just in a much less manual way,
Yeah. Yeah.
which we're going to see here.
Yeah. I think, do you know what? I think that's a great point. So if you are spending your head up in the planning stratosphere, then deep dive in or diving deep into any numbers, putting these slides together, it is a terrific exercise. It does make you feel like you're connected. But I think the point here is that you don't have to output that. If you're properly plugged in and pulling your teams through HubSpot, you don't have to output that anyway. You don't have to piece it together. Just need to know where to look. So here's a couple. These are my sort of my tips on management, where management need to go, and beyond the dashboard. I mean, we'll look at dashboards obviously, but beyond the dashboard. And the place I would always think about starting, and this would be a weekly meeting for me, would be a dashboard meeting with an individual salesperson. Now, if I'm gonna jump into the pipeline, and bearing in mind I can see different pipelines, obviously, if I've got different products or different marketplaces or anything else, I'm going to jump into the pipeline. And this, after a while of reading these, interrogating, asking questions of the salespeople, and everything else, I'm going to start to feel the rhythm of the business. I'm going to be able to come in at the beginning of the month and go, oh, hey, we're further back from where we were last month. I used to work on 3 times. I think a lot of people do. You want 3 times in your pipeline what you need to close the month out. And then for the set month 2, you'll need 75% pre-booked, and month 3 you'll need 50% pre-booked, or wherever it's going to be. You'll see that in here, and again, without having to calculate it particularly. But of course, you do have these natty little filters. So if you want to see by individual salespeople how everybody's doing, if you want to see yourself and how you're doing, if you want to see people who've yet to pick things up, you're just selecting deal owners, and it's immediately going to take you into the individual, right? So this is akin to, Tony, can you come into my office and bring your paperwork? What, can you fill out this spreadsheet? Can you fill out this target plan for me? I don't need to do that. Sunday evening, which is perhaps sad in itself. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to have a look ahead at each of the reps pipelines. So this is the first place I'd start. And again, clicking through here, looking at create date, when is stuff coming in? Looking at close date, what are we setting? And this is where you pick up issues with your process, right? If you've got a ton of dates that have gone past, now we've got these nice little flags here. They're telling us that these close dates have gone past, they're overdue. Well, you've got a problem with the process. This is either a reporting problem, this is an adoption problem, or even the fact that your sales aren't working as well as they should be. So you're seeing all of this just by looking at this sheet, just by stripping it down to the individuals and getting to say, I would say this is the pulse of the business. This is as much as everything, as much as of anything that I need to see what's going on in my pipeline. You can even keep an eye on this. Yeah, I remember this deal. This one, yeah, this one I thought was dodgy. And check it out. There's no activity for 2 years. Well, it's not going to be 2 years in the real pipeline, but on our
Could
obviously
be. Could be.
it could be, yeah. But certainly in our demo pipeline, there's been stuff that's sat there for a while. So this, as I say, for a sales manager or a commercial manager, this is it. This is the beating heart of the whole system. If you know somebody's talking to a client and you come in to check out the deal and look at for the latest updates, and it's not there, you've got a process problem. If you've got these dates and they're overdue, you've got a process problem. If you look and you suddenly realize, hang on a minute, this Avum deal, it's got 116 pounds here. Sorry for our US audience, 116 pounds here. That's vastly under or overinflated, right? That rep is managing his pipeline, managing his or her success, right? Everything is visible through the pipeline if you work the pipeline correctly. Pipeline is not for the rep. Pipeline is for the manager. It's for the organization. Okay. Now on that topic, similarly within reporting, well, we'll come back to reports last because that's the sort of the most obvious place. But a lot of people, I realize, a lot of people don't use goals in HubSpot. Now, if you're going to do reports and you're going to do metrics, unless you're comparing them against something, they're absolutely pointless. And again, this is demo, right? So it's not very accurate, but I can immediately see just by clicking into the goals section here, what's going on. I can immediately see where people are against the overall for the year or for wherever the target is, wherever's happening with the target. I can click in to see in granularity. I can see what's going on with the target. I can see the actuals versus the goals. I can see the leaderboards. I can see who's involved, who's hitting, who's missing, and I can see the individual performances as well, which is where we started. We can also, in HubSpot, and again, I don't think this is very well understood, we can also create all sorts of really cool goals. So we don't need to just create revenue goals. We can have our goals for enrollments, our goals for forecasts, our goals for calls. So I'm not just looking at calls that are being made. I'm stretching my team to make calls. I'm looking at ticket resolution times, meetings booked. I don't have to read them out because they're all here, obviously. So it's not just about having goals for revenue. This is an ability to see within the reports and within the goals section here. So just clicking on goals, exactly where we are against all our KPIs. No reporting needed, no spreadsheets needed. A real quick, deep look into team performance, into individual user performance on whatever basis, by sequences enrolled, like I said, by meetings, by calls, or by anything else. Goals is massively underutilized in HubSpot, as far as I can tell. I mean, maybe you can tell me different, but I just don't see people using it.
Well, I think it's one of those pieces of functionality that has massively improved in the last year or so.
True.
So definitely one of those common cases where it's like, if you haven't seen it lately, you need to come back in and check it out. But I'd also say, as we move to customer platform, it's one of those happy consequences of this is happening. These goals and forecasts and all this is happening somewhere in the business, right?
Exactly.
And that's where all these things we just showed, like, I've seen some of the most magnificent spreadsheets you can ever imagine created by like the FP&A guy or the finance team. And that sometimes that's the bridge you have to build. And hopefully what we're showing you today, you can build that bridge with HubSpot. And sometimes those are the people that will get on your side the fastest, because they don't like sending out 20 different versions of the same spreadsheet and then having to bring it all back in and collate and reconcile the data. But they've never had a system that could build these bridges for them before. So that means the Excel spreadsheet has to be the source of truth.
Exactly.
And that means everybody else gets spreadsheets.
Exactly. And everybody's outside of HubSpot. That's exactly right. That's exactly. So I would argue that this goals and the next we'll look at forecasting in a sec. Goals and forecasting are the main drivers of adoption because of what you just said, right? It's not going to be a straightforward task. I have a call tomorrow, actually. I have a call tomorrow to show a customer who's used HubSpot for more than a year, show them how to set up their reporting to show their 4 different revenue lines and the 5 different subsets of revenue within each revenue line. So they've got like 20 revenue lines in effect, and they don't know how to wouldn't expect them to know how to do it. But how many more people are like that? They're literally taking their information at HubSpot, putting it into a spreadsheet, just like we've just said. So the adoption activity, the transformational activity, is moving into a customer platform to do this work and away from the way that you were doing it before. You'll find some things won't apply anymore. Some things you won't need to do anymore. And some things you're going to need to do better in order to get this to work. That's the definition of the transformation that we're undergoing. So buying HubSpot and staying in those spreadsheets is just creating friction. It's just adding cost to your adoption gap cost, as we call it, the price that you pay to close the adoption gap, which can be massive anyway. The longer you stay out of HubSpot, the bigger that price becomes. So this is an even better illustration, I think, Chris. The goals is relatively straightforward, but until you understand how to do forecasting in HubSpot, you don't really understand HubSpot, I think. So again, this is all nonsense. These numbers are all nonsense. In fact, there's no numbers in there by the look of it. That's probably because of the close date. Let's have a look. Have I got anything in there? Nope. Custom date range. I'm not sure how far back this data goes, to be honest.
Is the importance of data in the system. And I think forecasts, I can tell you, is one of my least favorite topics because, you say that you want to do it and then you do it in spreadsheets and you got to call up everybody every day to understand and give me new numbers. So much time is spent on bullshit forecasted numbers. It is unbelievable.
Well, this is it. This is it. It's incredible.
And so the whole purpose, so why do we do it in here instead of the spreadsheet, right? Because now the system can work for you. And I learned early on, we're not trying to replace the one-to-one sales manager to salesperson calls here, right? What we're doing is those calls become immensely more valuable because we're not just getting status updates anymore.
Yep.
That's the system doing.
Yep.
We're coaching, we're strategizing, we're closing more deals on those calls.
So I used to do this work on pieces of paper, right? I'd have a rep in with me and we'd go through a client list. We've not touched on that one yet. Hopefully we'll get a bit of time. I'd look through their project, their target planner. I'd look through their forecasting, right? It wasn't even spreadsheets. It was written down on pieces of paper. And now I don't need it. I don't need any of that because it's all here. And just like we were saying about the goals, right? If you come in and you say to somebody, "Let's pick up me, Tony, you can see your weighted pipeline is 123K." And I go, no, it's not. It's 250. Immediately, right? That's not because HubSpot's got it wrong, guys. I'm sick of hearing this. HubSpot does not get it wrong. The operator, the person who's putting the data in has got it wrong. HubSpot can only tell you what's in it. If the system is saying 123 and the rep is saying 250, somebody's incorrect and it's not HubSpot. So again, the pulse of your business, you know exactly what's going on. And if you can't rely on these numbers, again, you've got a massive adoption problem. It's a massive adoption problem. If you're not using this screen because it's not all that accurate, I'd rather talk to the rep and eyeball them. That's a major issue, guys. It defeats the purpose of doing what we're doing. And don't forget, right? So you've got to customize these, as it were. You can choose which parts of the weighted pipeline you're going to put in. You can choose what parts you're going to upweight and downweight. You can literally build these forecasts. And I believe the AI in HubSpot now will actually get more accurate as time goes on. But even more important than that, you have a section here where you can put in a manual forecast. If your salesperson is that bad at keeping it up to date, you can tell us what the pipeline says, Tony, but but you tell me as well. If I want that eyeball activity, get the eyeball activity and put it in, and then show Tony just how good his weighted pipeline forecasts are versus his manual forecast. This is what being data driven is all about. So if you take goals and forecasts together, that is knowing all you need to know about your sales activity, your salespeople, the health of their pipeline, their accuracy of reporting, the state of your business. Because these are the beating heart and the arteries. If goals are the beating heart, the forecasts are the arteries of your business. They're that important. And if you're not using them, then you're not utilizing the power of the customer platform or even Sales Hub, just one little part of HubSpot.
Yeah. And this is where leaders of the organization, the owners, I have to be involved, because, and this could be at any management level in any department, right? But when we talk about RevOps, marketing, sales, whoever's in charge of bringing the system in, the managers that are not in charge will find ways to say, I need to eyeball, I need to have the one-on-ones, that I get the real information in the conversation. That's where leaders need to come in and say, hey, we're using this system.
Yeah.
Like, we're not trying to replace all the human activity, but learn how to do it inside of this system.
Yeah, and it's absolutely not to replace the human activity. This is to streamline and make the human activity more efficient. So you're not filing papers and waiting on spreadsheets and things. You're reducing the friction from the human activity. That's the last thing we want. We want it all to all be here. The issue is, if it's inaccurate for whatever reason, you can't trust the data, you have an adoption problem. This is what I mean. I don't mean to disparage training and enablement activities and all that kind of thing, right? But if you're not using the platform for this stuff, you've not adopted the platform, and you're missing out on the power of the platform. As a sales manager, sales director, and a managing director, I would pore over these screens that I'm sharing with you right now. They were the way I ran the business. That's what I mean by a management control system. That's what I mean by when I talk about closing the adoption gap, by getting the management. This is not management ownership to sit there and say, you must do this, otherwise you'll be in trouble. This is management ownership from the perspective that I run my business, I run my sales team, I run my marketing team, I run my customer service team by using the tools that are here in HubSpot. That's the difference. So here's another quick one, I think underutilized. We talk a lot about ABM tools and what that actually means. Back in the day, we just used to have a top 10 hit list. Each rep would file a top 10 hit list. And in the monthly meeting with that rep, I'd want to talk to them about progress with their top 10 hit list. It's ready-made in HubSpot under the target account section, even if you only use it for top 10s. There was only 6 in this one anyway. But as the manager, I can select each of the sales people I want to talk to. I can select it by the actual profile, the industry, and even life cycle stage if I want to. At a glance, I can see what activity is going on in our top 10 hit list. Guys, we're supposed to be committed to new business. What's happening? There's no activity driving new business according to our target accounts. And I can even click in to the target account itself and see what's going on. I think this is a marvelous way of just having a quick deep dive into a customer. So you say to the rep, so how are you going with real inbound? Oh yeah, they put the meeting off last week. There was a fire. And so the forecast is going back. So I don't even need to do that. I can come in and I can check it. I can see what's happening. I can see what deals are in I can see whether they've visited our website. I can see the tasks that have been set. I can even look at the makeup of the buy-in, uh, uh, whether we've got decision makers. I can't think of the bloody word. The unit, the buy-in unit, whether we've got decision makers, champions, and everything else in here. Again, this is not for reps. Of course, it's for reps. Reps use it because it makes their job easier, but it's for management. It's absolutely for management. And look, we've sort of got to the end of the show. I'll stop there for a sec. We haven't even looked at reports and dashboards. We haven't looked at the analytics and the dashboards, which has so much insight. It's not funny.
Yeah, it can. But honestly, it doesn't if those tools that Tony just showed are not working well. And that target accounts dashboard, the difference between micromanagement and like taking care of your team, when you're focused, and this is what happens when you focus on reports and dashboards first, you get focused on these super granular things. If you start with the target accounts dashboard, watch the rest of the process get improved because that shit has to be right. So on that call you just mentioned, oh, they put time off. Oh, there's this new person involved. And you pull it up in the target accounts dashboard and oh, they're not associated here. Can we fix that real quick? Oh, now I see which meeting you're talking about. Now I can see everything clearly, right? These tools, you can pick which ones to use, and now you're not micromanaging the team. It's all here. And that kind of investment from a manager perspective, that tells the team, yes, I need to be using HubSpot. It's in my best interest to use HubSpot. The manager is not asking, they're not presenting back to me in a spreadsheet, right? That is the biggest indicator of a manager not being bought in. And if the
100%.
manager is not bought in, why should the team be?
Yep. And all
Right?
that'll happen, even if the team do use it, is they'll do it as an exercise. They'll do it as a, like you fill out your expenses. It's greatly fictional. It'll just be to hit whatever the KPIs are. The whole point of this session today, the whole point when I talk about adoption, is that you are changing the way that you work. You're now working in the customer platform. You're not working on these other things and tacking on this tool or using this reporting function or sending emails through here instead. We're going to do our work. We're going to transform, imagine this, into a data-driven, customer-centric, technologically enabled organization for the 21st century. That's what it's all about. And we ain't doing it without managers running the business through HubSpot.
Exactly. Oh man, this was a fun one. I mean, we hope it was helpful to see some of these examples. It really can be that simple, and that's why you're investing in this tool, right? If you're there's a reason that Pro and Enterprise, most of that functionality is about reporting and analytics and the ability to forecast. Like that is when you start to get, okay, this is a business platform that helps manage the business, right? So if you're investing in Pro or Enterprise in any hub, and you're not using it this way, and you're just using it to get emails out the door or sequences out, and like stop. No, get involved, get your team involved, and learn how to use this thing. So this was awesome, Tony.
Great, enjoyed it.
So as you're looking at these, see target accounts dashboard, forecast, goals, find those opportunities, and let's grow. Have a great day, everybody.